So, how do you balance Deen and Dunya? You ensure that these aspects of Dunya, which are governed by the Sharia, governed by Deen, are always well kept. That's like the kosher answer.
Now I'm very curious to hear the controversial answer.
There is no balance. And the person who goes to sleep on time after praying Isha because they wish to wake up for the Fajr, like they sleep for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so all the sleeping is rewarding. In this manner, you can connect every single action for the sake of Allah. If you had just intentionally taken 2 hours out, 1 hour out, half an hour out to take a solid break, go for a walk, go hang out with your friends or your family, whatever it is, go play some sports and come back, you would have been more productive. So you have to have someone in your life who cares about you. But no one owes you anything. Yeah, if the sheikh doesn't know who you are, like some Instagram sheikh, and he's answering questions, he's not your sheikh. This is very important. You have to keep your spouse happy. This is very important. You have to be good parents, good fathers and mothers to your children. You have to be good sons and daughters. Otherwise, are you really practicing the religion? How can you teach what you have not manifested in yourself?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to Between Classes, Season 3, Episode 1 with Ustad Danyal Khan. He's one of our local teachers teaching at Taqwa Academy. Ustad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Not particularly, but yeah, alhamdulillah, I teach at a few places as per has been requested. And then, so Taqwa Academy, I spent a few years with Ustad Hassan learning from him. Then at some point, I suppose we graduated beyond that. And now he makes me teach things.
So you're both there currently teaching?
Do you want like the whole story? Everything? So I'm teaching at Taqwa Academy. I teach at Mathaba starting this January, actually. Some of their essential courses. I teach at Roots Academy, which is a UK based institute. Very grassroots efforts. It's really nice stuff, actually. Sometimes we get lost in the detail, and I appreciate that Roots is something which is grounding, as the name pertains to. And that's been really nice, actually. It's just university students focused, doing the core issues, talking about just connection, talking about some of the key underlying issues, and developing a long term appreciation for the religion, which can build into something more. Then there's like other things. Like if someone asks, then I just say yes. That's how we end up here.
Yes,
And
and we
like,
did end up here. And so hearing your scheduling, as we're talking, as said, you've been teaching classes, you'll be teaching classes. We're also aware that you're studying at UTM, you're doing your undergrad as well, and of course, you have a family and so on and so forth. So, one of the topic of discussion today
you forgot the
that
jobs too.
and and you're working as of course, that
Alhamdulillah.
is something very important as well. The topic today that we want to discuss is the aspect of balancing Deen and Dunya and
Mm.
the idea of time management as a student. There's this idea when you come into your first year undergrad, everything's very burdensome. You're managing classes, family, commuting, possibly cooking, and all these things, and it becomes a little overwhelming, right?
Mm.
And then you have your ilmi side that you want to consider possibly, and like this whole management thing, it kind of overwhelms an individual, right? So to begin with, I think one of the first questions that I would want to ask is, what is the idea of balancing Deen and Dunya? Is this a concept of like preference to Deen always, or is this something else here?
Yeah, so to begin, I just want to add that it's a little bit odd always to speak about the self. Usually you don't do that. It's not ideal to speak about the self, as it were. But if it benefits the people to hear about one's life, then khair inshallah. We hope it benefits. Do you want the kosher answer or do you want like the real answer?
We always go kosher here.
Oh, kosher. Okay. We do like the safe answer then.
We'll go safe and then we'll move on.
Yeah, the safe answer is in life, there are certain things which are important, certain dues upon you, such as the rights of your spouse, the rights of your children, the service to your parents, and things of this nature. So these things can never be set aside, they always have to be prioritized. So, how do you balance deen and dunya? You ensure that these aspects of dunya, which are governed by the sharia, governed by deen, are always well kept, are always maintained, are always kept happy. Happiness is important. And then, and you do this by working as it were, doing your job and the like. And then, whatever time you find otherwise, you have an hour in the evening, a few hours in the weekend, you dedicate it to the ilm, dedicate it to something more. And if you do this time and time again, you will find the barakat, you will find the blessings, you will find more openings. That's like the kosher answer.
Now I'm very curious to hear the controversial answer.
There is no balance.
There is no balance.
Someone asked recently, like, oh, you have this on your plate, this on your plate. How do you manage? I told them, there is no plate.
There is no plates.
There is no plate. How does this work? Really, it is a very sensitive process. It is a fool's errand. If you go to the gym and you see some guy who's lifting 3 plates each side, deadlift, clean, and you try and do the same thing, you never lifted in your life. What are you going to end up as? Injured. And you're a fool for doing this, right? You're a fool for doing this. And so, how did he get there? Marginal gains. Just over time, doing a little bit more. I was sitting in class once with one of my teachers, and he had mentioned, this is a long time ago, maybe almost 10 years ago, I think. Something like that. I mean, at some point, it's like give or take a year, right? He said that you will never, and this is an ibarah you find throughout the nusus, like throughout the text and the mutun and the like from the ulama, that until you give everything to the ilm, that once you give every single thing to the ilm, then the ilm will give something of itself to you. And so I was actually sitting in class. I remember being very disheartened and very upset listening to this.
Yes, because it sounds like, all the time that you have goes to the ilm from the statement.
Exactly. Like I believe I was like getting married at that point. I was looking towards like working towards a normative career, cybersecurity. Like I had a regular life. I was doing ilm part-time, as it were. So it was almost painful to hear that. As if someone was taking away all that I had longed for. Then I realized, and the Sheikh also continued to explain.
Okay. That next line, basically.
Yeah, it's also important. Like this is why I said, like sometimes, like you just need to take some time, sit in classes, let things ruminate. You need to discuss. You need to allow things to just progress naturally. You cannot attain unto everything at once. This is always a mistake. And so he continued to explain that you don't have to give literally everything. You have to give whatever you have. The difference being that once you have fulfilled your responsibilities, whatever else you find now, you give that to the ilm. So even if that's like 10 minutes, even if that's half an hour, even if it's a moment in the evening, you simply do that. Why? Because if you do that, then next year you will find a little bit more time.
The marginal gain effect.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
And then if you keep doing that, and you keep doing that, and then a decade passes, you will find more time for the ilm. But people imagine that they can just throw everything aside and like take up the life of the sheikh, and not put in the work, not study, not put your head down, work hard, do your career, raise a family. Do like these things are difficult.
Right.
And you have to. Everything is step by step. This is also why I'm always saying that you're not supposed to do this alone. Right? Because if you do this alone,
the teacher involved and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna do silly things. I'm gonna quit my job.
Yeah.
I quit my entire life just to do this random thing. It's like you may not be ready for this. You don't have to guess. So for me, the answer is that there is no balance. You have to fulfill your responsibilities which are due upon you. You have to do those things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated. You have to serve your parents. You have to fulfill the rights of your spouse. You have to earn wealth, be present for your family. You have to do all of that with a level of itqan, with a level of excellence. And then every other moment you find for the ilm, you give it. What do people want? It's like, I'm going to go to Ridgeway for 17 hours
Spend the night there,
and
the
I'm
weekend.
gonna, exactly.
Right.
And it's
For
like they spend like the entire weekend, like hijrah to Ridgeway, like the Tahajjud at Ridgeway. Like you fall asleep for Fajr because you stayed up tonight too
yeah,
late.
yeah, of course. For those who don't know, Ridgeway is a local.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows what Low Ridgeway is. It's a local restaurant complex with a lot of halal food options available that a lot of the youngster Muslims end up spending majority of their time at.
You say, what do you say, youngster Muslims?
Youngster Muslims,
Like the youths.
the youths, yes. So it's that I had a question that popped up in my head as you were speaking on the ilmi side, and I was wondering from what you were saying, the I was thinking the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Sahaba, right? We hear these stories of how much they were able to do, and it seems like the 24 hours that they had was actually more than the 24 hours that we had.
Mm,
And based on what you just stated on the ilmi discussion
mm.
of sort of marginal gains, is this the aspect that is this what we reflect on when we think of these stories? That, oh, okay, I'm doing whatever I can within my capacity, and they were doing whatever they can with their abilities?
The first thing to say is that I'm not throwing shade at the Ridgeway goers, just to like clarify,
Okay.
in the sense that there is a time for things, right? Someone,
And some enjoyment, some relaxation, yes.
yeah, like it's possible, right? But obviously, if you throw away your entire life at Ridgeway, then you're like, I have no time for the ilm. You're just a fool. Yeah, to your question, that everyone has the same 24 hours, but it seems like even in our time, some people get more done. This is always why you have to find people who are ahead of you. I have always had teachers who have always been doing much more than I'm doing. And so it's very easy for me to look at some student and to say I'm doing more than that student, but this is a fool's errand.
Right.
I look forward, look at my teachers and see that they're doing even more.
Right. So the concept of looking up rather than down.
Yeah, i.e., in the Deen, you always look forward, look ahead to where you have to get to next.
Okay.
You don't look at every person that you like. Astaghfirullah. They never go to Ridgeway. They never made a hijrah to Ridgeway. They never pray. They never fast. That's not the point. Like your circumstance, whatever you've achieved, look at those who had what you had and did more, and ask yourself why not more. Because if they can do it, why can I not do it?
Right.
Because it is only through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anyone attains unto anything. Every Sahabi, every single great scholar of Islam that you know of and you don't know of, every single prophet only reached because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to reach. So the means are there.
So this actually goes into a separate discussion with the fact that Allah has given us the time that we have. What is the concept of amana, the trust in time that Allah has given us with Allah? What is that amana here?
When did this show up? MashaAllah, got me coffee. Didn't even tell me. Barakat min Allah ta'ala. This does return to what we previously spoke about, in that it's all about marginal gains. If someone is not praying, we cannot imagine for them now to make use of every single moment of their day. It's not reasonable. Like, are they still liable for not praying? Of course. But do you really think you going up to them and saying, hey, you should pray 5 times a day? They're gonna like, oh, mashallah, I never knew this. Jazakallah khair, brother. Now I'm gonna change my life. It doesn't
Right.
work like this,
Right.
right? And so everyone has to see where they are at. At some point, you do want to look at your life and look at every single moment and consider whether these moments were for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or were they otherwise. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That he only created jinn and mankind to worship him. So what happens after you pray Fajr and your Fajr lasted 2 minutes? It's like there's no worship for like 5 hours. So how do you manifest this ayah? Ibn al-Qayyim talks about one man spends the entire night in salah. And one man spends the entire night sleeping. But in some cases, the latter, the one who is sleeping, is far better than the one who stays the entire night awake in the prayer.
Is it due to intention?
Yeah. Because perhaps we do good deeds at times and we think something of ourselves as a consequence. You become arrogant, you become prideful. This is a problem. And the person who goes to sleep on time after praying Isha because they wish to wake up for the Fajr, like they sleep for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so all the sleeping is rewarding. In this manner, you can connect every single action for the sake of Allah. Whether it is driving, whether it is being in school, like having a clear intention that you are trying to attain the means to get to a halal income is good, is rewarding.
So this goes on to the topic of leisure, right? I think a lot of youth think that any wasted time in the modern sense, right? That any time is meant to be used to grind, it meant to be used to perhaps make money or study harder, grind harder.
Mm.
And it's this work culture that's been, adopted. And so based on what you've said, it seems that in fact leisure is actually beneficial, and not only that, obviously the relaxation factor and the sort of recovery period for the physical means, but it's also beneficial for the spiritual means as you end up retaining reward through it. So I wanted to ask, I think some people do end up considering that leisure is, as we discussed, a sort of negative thing, and then they end up in the period where they overburden themselves, they perhaps take on too much, and they push themselves beyond their limits, as your example was, 50 plates on the bar. What is the sort of spiritual connection to burnout? Is there a spiritual connection, or is this purely physical? Is this something that perhaps connecting with Allah helps with further, or is this just a physical thing where over time you end up recovering?
It's really interesting that the Prophet ﷺ, despite being so busy and despite having to lead a community politically and religiously
Right.
and be everyone's like personal mufti, as it were,
Right.
and attain unto revelation and have a family and raise a community and then go to war and deal with economical issues.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says that when he would come to bed after he sallallahu alayhi wasallam had prayed, if I was awake, he would just talk to me.
Very sweet. Very nice.
Killing my vibe. Just kidding. Just the idea that sometimes you do need to relax. That is important, but the relaxation should also be intentional.
So this comes back to what we were discussing before. The intention ends up changing if some break time
No,
is
what I really mean is, like, I'll give you a story. So everyone likes stories. I was in a class, and it was a long-term class.
okay.
So I believe, like, I think it was year 5 or 6 or something like this. One of the students was going to drop out. And I was like, consider we've been here for like a number of years. It's going to end soon. Still hasn't ended. It's been like 12 years.
12 years. Subhanallah. How things.
Soon, inshallah. The end doesn't stop, right? That's a mistake, anyways. But he was going to leave, and I asked him, like, just consider, like, keep going, like, just tough it out. He's saying, I have family now, and because it's been like a while. People's
As you
lives,
said, 6 years, right? Lots of
things
things
changed.
right? An entire degree happens, or
Oh,
all these things.
people went from like no one's married, no one kid, everyone has like
Having a
everyone's
child
married,
and
all
all
this
this.
stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, you know
yes.
what? I understand. A few weeks later, I was talking to him, and he expressed that he had just finished watching the entirety of The Office.
The Office.
like some
There's
TV
multiple
show.
seasons of that show as
I
well,
think it's
right?
like 12 or 14 seasons,
14 seasons is a
something
crazy
ridiculous.
feat.
But I appreciate that you're busy. But if you have time for 14 seasons, I'm sure that's a very long time, right? Everyone now is watching that Turkish show. I forget what it's called.
Artugal, right?
Yeah, and it's like hundreds of
Yes, yes,
episodes.
yes.
So look, I'm not saying you cannot relax. I'm not giving like a fatwa on what you can do. That's a different discussion, right? It's not the fiqh
Right, right.
class. But when you're going to take time out to relax, just know that I am taking a 1 hour break. I'm taking a 2 hour break, whatever it is, just know that you are taking a break. What do people do? They sit there, they open up like their Word document, what they have to work on, they have it on the side, and they do something else for 10 hours. So in their mind, what have they done? They've worked for 10 hours. If you to really look at the productivity levels, it'd be like 20 minutes of work.
Right.
If you had just intentionally taken 2 hours out, 1 hour out, half an hour out to take a solid break, go for a walk, go hang out with your friends or your family, whatever it is, go play some sports and come back, you would have been more productive. At the same time, it's also foolish when we just spend like the whole watch the entirety of The Office.
Right.
You're not busy. So you should not kid yourself. This is the important thing. You have to just, you're only human. No one expects you to be more than human.
Right.
So take breaks, that's fine, but just know that you're taking a break intentionally. Like I am leaving my work right now, I'm leaving this task, I'm leaving this effort so that I can come back to it later and work hard. But we, in this guise of this idea of working hard, of the grind and the like, we end up just staring at things, imagining we're working hard, but nothing is actually happening.
I remember myself in first year, uh, constantly thinking I was grinding, telling everyone that I was, working as they would go hang out and doing these things. And then looking back, I'd realize the unproductive time that it would just be staring at a one line sheet of paper or, just the same line of code or something like this. So I do connect with what you're saying.
This is like when you have an essay due and it's due in 3 weeks. So what happens?
You
Nothing happens
procrastinate, yes.
until the night before,
Yeah.
and you write the entire essay. If you just sat down and properly wrote it out, you would have finished it in like a couple hours. But you like just wasted like 3 weeks of all this time not doing anything, imagining you were busy. So like you're human. Once again, no one imagines you to be more. Like it's okay, take breaks. Just be intentional about your time. That if I am working for half an hour, this is serious work. I don't have YouTube and Netflix and all this stuff playing in the background and WhatsApp and then Snapchat, whatever this stuff. Like you're kidding yourself. Focus intentionally, take breaks intentionally, you'll be better off.
So, Ustad, you talked about the procrastination, the essays that we all end up writing, and then we delay till the last night.
Mm.
And I wanted to ask, um, as we're Muslim, of course, right? We have the spiritual belief, and I wanted to understand: is there a spiritual cause for procrastination, or is this just due to bad habits, or is it potentially just the way of our own thinking, or thinking that we would actually get it done, or is this spiritually rooted? Is this a shaitani thing, or something along those lines?
Yeah, there might be an attitude issue, which you find both in Deen and in Dunya, as it were. Like someone who delays all of their assignments probably prays in the last 5 minutes of the prayer time. Like it's probably a habit which carries over in
To
different
other
areas
things in
of
their
life.
lives, yes.
So really, this is just the way this is either the existence or the lack of the existence of discipline in your life. Yeah, how to just work on it. Sometimes we look at ourselves in our pitiful states and we just pity ourselves. This is not good. Like just knowing that it's like you failed calculus because your mom yelled at you the one time you did bad on grade 6 math, so you have trauma. It's like good you've identified this, but don't just stop here.
Right.
Like we end up, oh, I have math trauma, so that's why I'm bad at math. Okay, but how are you dealing with this? Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, that's tough. Everyone deals with things, but you should not just hold on. You
How are
should
you going to grow from this? How are you
exactly
gonna adapt from this?
Yeah.
Use it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Ustad. So a lot of the discussions that we've had, balance and stuff like this. One of the things that I wanted to ask myself, and I know many others have this discussion, is the discussion of ilm, right? Seeking ilm and in the midst of going through your undergrad, you end up having to do all these assignments, and you're managing living with your family and stuff like this, and it ends up being that the ilmi side that you want to pursue, it ends up not to the degree that you would want, right? Perhaps, like you said, um, you're doing multiple classes. Some want to do multiple classes, learn their fiqh, and there's so on and so forth, but perhaps they're not able to, and they sort of have this regretful feeling, right? That perhaps I'm not doing enough, right? Or perhaps I need to know more in terms
Mm.
of my ilm, right? Because it is the essence of our lives. So is this a sort of incorrect approach to seeking ilm, or is it how we were saying before? Is it more so the exponential growth thing, taking one step at a time, or is ilm a sort of thing where we should give it, like, we should have the standard on its own, having, okay, I'm going to be learning this year, right? I'm going to put the time into this, and everything goes around that.
Yeah, you asked a lot of things there.
I did, of course.
So I'm going to tell you a story now.
So you're going to reverse the equation.
I do whatever I want.
Okay.
I was with my teacher once. This is a different story now because I have like a different now,
You're
like a
getting
story I
two
wanted to say.
stories. That's great. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
with my teacher once, they called him up to stage. Like he did really fantastic. Like what, like the way he disseminated the fiqh and everything, and the discussions and how he held everything was beautiful. And he mentioned something in passing that when they give you the stage, you take all of it. That's why I do whatever I want. I remember when I was an undergrad, it was like 6 courses, um, cybersecurity, so it's like quite intense. And I was taking classes on the weekdays and the weekends. So when I had 6 courses, I was actually had a class every single day of the week. So Monday to Sunday, every single day
This
I
is
had
the
a
ilmi classes?
yeah I had evening classes from Monday to Sunday, and then the courses at school I just had, I don't remember what I had. It was like either 4 or 5 days because it's six
Right,
courses.
right, right.
I think it was 4 days because I always like deeply tried to never have courses on Fridays,
All right.
and I usually succeeded
Everyone
in
loves
that.
them open slot Fridays.
Yeah,
You
so
can
you
attend
go to
Jumu'ah. Yes.
like the University of Jumu'ah, and it's like some random guy put up there. He doesn't know what he's doing. Anyways, so I remember like that was tough a little bit. Like 6 courses and classes every single day, and like different types of classes. It wasn't the same thing. Like varying subjects, two different teachers. So I asked one of my teachers, Sad Hassan. I was
Right.
like, Sad, it's tough. Like it's a little bit much. What should I do? So he told me, do more.
Do more?
So I took up another 3 hour class with the sheikh, the third sheikh. And really, what that showed me was I had more capacity. It was tough. It was tough. I had to push myself. But really, you all imagine you're difficult. Like, you all imagine your life is busy and difficult. But if you had another variable, you would also just manage that in most cases. You don't really know the extent of what you can do. Like, sometimes when I'm in university now, I'll have a first year, second year beside me complaining about how tough it is. Yeah, I appreciate this. Once again, I'm not trying to like flex or anything. It's just like for the sake of benefit. But like, I have a family, I have a kid, I have a job. I'm working right now. Like when like it's with them, so it's like I appreciate you think this is tough, but you're just young. You just haven't seen the
Seen
scope.
the
You have
experience.
not been tested and tried to that degree. You would be surprised by how much you can actually do. So sometimes you just have to do more. But as I said, like marginal gains.
Right. Of
وَلَنْ
course.
يُشَادَ الدِّينَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا غَلَبَهُ. That no one became excessive in the religion except that it destroyed him, it overcame him. Yeah,
Right.
everything is time and place. So
It's about being the balance, right?
yeah, and you know what you said about, you said something. I forget what you said because it was like a
There's
while
a
ago
lot of
now.
things said today, so it's okay.
But back to what we said before, that you're not supposed to do this alone. What did I tell you? That when I was stuck, what did I do?
You went to your teacher's
I
office.
called my teacher.
Yes.
Right, like I wasn't doing this alone. Like my teacher knew about my crazy schedule, and he obviously knew me personally because I spent time with him. So he's not telling me. Like if I was someone else, perhaps he would have given me different advice. If I was a different stage in my life, he would have given me different advice. This is also why you have to give yourself to your teachers. Like I am generally a very private person when it comes to my life, but when with my teachers, I tell them everything. Why? Not like everything, well, like context, so
Right.
they can understand how to guide me.
Right.
right? I show them like this is how my life is, this is what I have, this is what I have to do, everything, so that they can give me a like better guidance. And so that really helped because it was evidence for me that there is still more. And so I'm doing way more now, alhamdulillah, than I was then. Like that feels like a walk in the park.
Right. Of
So
course.
so as I mentioned, it is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If anyone imagines you can do it yourself, you're already
Oh,
lost.
yeah.
You're already
Yeah,
lost.
yeah. So, Ustad, you were this is a bit of a side tangent to our time management topic, but as you mentioned, you reach out to your teachers in seeking advice and stuff. Is this a thing that every individual should seek out, having a mentor, having someone that sort of guides them, has the experience that they don't, and what is the way to identify a good potential mentor in that sense?
I can call like four shuyukh right now.
Yeah,
What time is it?
it
They'd probably
is
pick up.
11:16.
Or they'd tell me to get back to you right now. Why? Because I spend time with them. I develop bonds. Like if I have a problem, I call like multiple shuyukh and I ask them, Sheikh, what do you think? Here's the issue. Here's the mas'ala. This is what the person is saying. This is the issue. What do you think we should do? So you have to have someone in your life who cares about you. But no one owes you anything. You have to build a bond. If you go to the sheikh, he has how many students? Like dozens and dozens of
Right,
students.
of course.
And so if you just sit in the back, never reach out, never talk,
How is he meant to
never
connect with you?
engage, he can only do so much.
It's like that thing, right? You're in the Zoom classes, camera off, no name, and you come up to them on like the final day of school and they're like, "Who are you?
It's so
I've never
odd.
seen you."
Every time this happens, like I took a class with you, I've never seen you in my life. I just feel bad, right? Like I don't want I
It's that
like
awkward thing, like, "Oh,
it's
oh, okay,
terrible.
nice to see you too." Yeah, right, right.
I don't want that experience. I want to be connected to like anyone that I'm in class with. I like it's a beautiful thing. I don't want to just I don't know who you are. I've never seen your face
Of
in my life,
course.
and you're quoting me. I don't even know who you are. Like,
So, Ustad, what are the steps to how do you identify a good mentor? How do you know that the person
mm,
that you found is someone that you can take from or seek advice from rather than, anyone on the online internets, people go on Instagram, they search up whatever accounts and they're getting advice. Is that a viable method or is it how you've mentioned the direct connection sort of thing?
yeah, if the sheikh doesn't know who you are, like you're some Instagram sheikh and he's answering questions, he's not your sheikh. Like, it's not a sheikh. Like you can get answers and stuff,
Yes.
but does he know who you are? Does he know your problems?
So
Does he know
no,
what you need?
it's not a
No.
personal answer,
Yeah, it's just a
basically.
generic answer. Like if someone reaches out to me, I've never met in my entire life, what am I
Right.
gonna give them? A textbook answer. Nothing else. So I
Straight
don't I
out of the
don't know what
box,
they
right?
need. I don't know who they are. I don't know how much ilmi background they have. What do they need? Like because sometimes if I know somebody, you don't answer what they asked. You answer what they need. And
Right.
sometimes all that is a conversation.
Hmm.
Sometimes all you have to do is listen to people. So you can't do that if you don't know
Who
who
they
that
are.
person
Yeah.
is.
Of course.
And
Of course.
so the first thing to do, look, any endeavor which does not begin with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always going to lack fruits, lack benefits. So what do? You make dua. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you to someone who will guide you to Allah. Dullani ila shaykhin yadulluni ila Allah. I.e., give me a teacher.
Right.
I'm not being weird. Like it's not like some weird. It's just like a fancy dua after saying that. Ya Allah, give me a teacher. Why? Because the Sahaba had the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had Jibril.
Right.
No one does this alone. If you do this alone, and your source is Instagram and the various three websites that pop up when you Google an answer, like you're always going to be confused. You're always going to be lost.
Right. Of course. Because it's never directly for you, right? At the end of the day.
So you make this dua now, then you have to do the work.
Okay, Ustad, we're
I
gonna
have to explain the answer. Are we going to end? That doesn't mean anything. What I just said
do
makes
you
no
want to
sense.
continue? Sorry, apologies.
It's all good.
I
I just like cognizant of the fact someone hears that and they're like, wait, you just stopped answering the question. Like, it's not just you. Like, what does do the work mean? Like, have to do the sharh now. It's the matan.
okay, apologies.
It's all good.
Please teach us.
So what do? you look around for those who are teaching, like those who are available in your city, those who have been either validated by other shuyukh or they have connection to ilm, like they've studied with teachers for an extensive amount of time. Like if you ask someone what did they study, who they study with, and they just say, "Yeah, mashallah, I studied." Like this
It's
is
not studying.
this is like no, there's no such thing as hiding your ilm. Like it's not about humility. This is about qualifications. Like
Right.
do you go to the mechanic and you ask the mechanic, "How many cars have you worked on?" You know, brother, I did one AI car once.
Right.
It's like it's foolishness though. You have to have
It's
some
not about
qualification. Yeah,
humbleness enough.
it's not. Yeah, it's just about facts. Like
Right.
what university do you go to?
Right.
It's
It's not.
just
You're not gonna be humble. Oh, I went to
okay.
Canadian
It's
Pure.
not. This
Right.
is not the place for humility.
Right.
Nor is it kibr to simply say like it's not arrogance and pride to simply state like I've studied this. This is just a fact. Like if someone studied tajweed and someone has not studied tajweed, then the person who has studied knows more in tajweed. That's just a fact.
Right. It's just something highlighting. Okay, I
And so if you have to like lead now, who leads?
the one with who knows the
Who
tajweed.
has
Right.
more knowledge of the fiqh, as it were. But someone's gonna say, "Oh, but I'm not worthy." Like it's your job now. Like if you are capable, it's your job now. It's not the place for humility.
Right. Of course.
So, anyways, you look at who is teaching all the shuyukh who are actually shuyukh. Then what do? You do a vibe check. Like you
Vibe
just
check.
a vibe check.
What is vibe check?
Sometimes you have a great sheikh, but they're almost like too great.
Too great is in they're very online presence heavy, like popular in sense.
You can't teach calculus to a 6 year old. At least not all 6 year olds.
Right. Some of us
Okay. And so
are different.
sometimes, like if the sheikh is a great sheikh, as it were, like they spent like a lot of time in their ilm, they've reached certain levels, then they may be too advanced for you.
Right.
Also, perhaps the person is right for you, but you don't understand what they're saying. They speak in a thick accent.
Yeah. So there's not the connection doesn't end up being there, sort of.
You might want a sheikh who makes a lot of funny jokes. Or you may not like jokes at all. Like this is important because you also have to benefit from who they are. If you don't vibe with them, if their personality doesn't match, you're never going to
If you don't
connect.
end up connecting with them, then nothing's gonna end up working.
Yeah. And so what's going to happen? You're going to be connected to the sheikh. I've had this experience. I spent many years with people and really it feels like there's no connection.
Mhm.
And some of my teachers I spent only a handful of years, only a handful of moments, but they're like the closest people to my heart. So you have to see that where is the connection going to be. I'm not saying like you look at this first, right? This is a mistake to do this first. First, you
Right.
see like all the who people, who's teaching, who are the shuyukh, who's available to study from.
And then you do the vibe check, sort of going to
Exactly.
their sort of open classes and
Yeah, and you
seeing.
see like obviously you check to
Right.
see like their adab and everything, their etiquette and everything. That stuff is important, and they manifest Islam. They're practicing. That's also is very important. That's like a given. But I'm saying after that, once you have like three shuyukh who are great people, what do? A vibe check.
Right. Right.
Then you go to the sheikh once you are committed and you just study. You don't look here and there. You don't take 26 different classes. You just put your head down,
And you stick with
study.
them.
Yeah, let them grow you. Let them propel you forward.
Okay.
Just focus on one teacher. And if this teacher is sincere, once you're ready to go, they'll tell you, okay, now go here.
He'll guide you on your further
Exactly.
path.
Like 10 years past, now they say
He'll
what?
be the mentor that you end up needing, right?
Exactly.
And it goes back to that fact. Okay, Ustad, we wanted to ask, obviously, as an MSA in the university, how can the brotherhood and the sisterhood help maintain that sort of consistency that we talked about, sort of that marginal growth that each individual is trying to strive for? How can the community help? How can we as brothers help out brothers? How can sisters help out sisters in this aspect?
Hmm. This is why it's just important to be with people, as I mentioned before. Like if everyone is praying, what do?
You also end up praying,
You
right?
end up praying.
Yeah.
You never pray sunnah. Everyone's praying sunnah. So what do?
You have that obligement to pray sunnah
It's
now.
just like you're facilitated, right? Everyone is doing a good thing, you're do a good thing. So this is how, and this is why being in good company is so important.
Ustad, in the topic of good company, people end up thinking that, oh, these people are, they're much higher than I am, and like, oh, they're praying their sunnahs, and I don't pray my sunnahs. They're not going to accept me, and I shouldn't end up spending time with them. Is this sort of thought process just a sort of satanic whisper to deter you from this good company?
Anyone who acts holier than thou is
Holier
not
than
is
thou.
not worth spending time with anyways.
Okay.
No such thing. We're all just sinners. This is the
Right.
reality. Either you're the complete sheikh, either you've attained unto a level such that every single moment, every single word, every single movement is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He desires it, as He commands it, as He wants it from you, or you are making mistakes.
Which is generally most people,
No one is the complete sheikh.
right? So all people.
There is no complete sheikh. This is why He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, أو كما قال, that كل بني آدم خطاء, that all of us are sinners. وخير الخطائين التوابون. The best of sinners are those who turn back, those who repent, those who go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why if anyone imagines if they act holier than thou, this is a mistake.
Right.
And if you imagine someone holier than thou, is also a mistake. Everyone's just human.
Right.
Right? We just help each other to get to some more meaningful place. And if they slip, you help them. If you slip, they help you. That's how it works.
So another question that bounces off this fact is a lot of students end up feeling, I'm in a period of sort of a spiritual low in a
Mm.
sense, right? So what are besides the brotherhood aspect that you've mentioned, right? The upliftment that you get being with others, how do you go about realigning yourself when you're sort of spiritually off track, right? This is due to the time management thing. Everyone's overwhelmed you, and you just feel
Mm.
like you're not where you need to be spiritually.
That's a tough question. You know, this idea, you guys are a bit young now,
Or a bit young.
but often what happens is people, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they look back and they say, you know, that year, like the third year of university,
Yeah.
I was at my like iman high,
Right.
like 12th grade iman high, fourth year iman high, and now it's like I'm down here. To view this, to look at this, and to simply just reminisce as if it's old memories, this is evidence of delusion. Why? Because the reality is you should be chasing that and more. Like, why do you look at like a previous time in your life and say that was my peak? Like, that's how close I get. No, just work hard. Go back to what you were doing. If you're with shuyukh, be with shuyukh. If you need guidance, seek guidance. If you have to study, study. Like, do what you have to do. If you're not praying, pray. Like, this is also foolish, right? If you're not practicing the sharia, if you're not in line with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're not praying, you're not serving your parents, you're not kind to people, you're not good to people, like, why do you imagine things are going to be good?
Yeah.
This is also why you have to learn to simply do things when they are required of you and not because of how you feel. Today was tough. I'm going to skip class. It's like, no, you don't go to class based on feelings. You go to class because you identify this is what you have to be, what you have to do.
This is a commitment, and now
Yeah.
I have to be there regardless of what happens, right? I mean, it ends up being, right, during perhaps midterm season, final season, people end up saying, oh, I'm a little behind, or I'm not feeling too well. Let me take the class off. And then it becomes a sort of
Yeah.
entire semester gig where the entire rest of the semester they haven't attended a class and stuff like this.
Mm.
Um, in reality, if you ended up continuing with the class, not only would you stay on track, but you would end up probably benefiting from the interaction with the professor and stuff, as you mentioned, having the sort of mentor that you would not have when you're, quote unquote, catching up. Who's knocking?
It's time.
Time for what?
It's sponsorship time.
We want to take this short segment to thank our sponsor, the MSU, the McMaster Student Union. The McMaster Student Union is the government body that facilitates all the clubs that run around campus, including our MSA. All the events, all the food, and all the activities that you see us here running in the MSA are facilitated by the MSU. All the prayer areas, such as the Hub and T13, are also facilitated by them. Once again, we want to thank them for all their support and efforts. And back to the episode.
Plus, it's like your ilmi class is like 2 hours. And what do? You skip the 2 hours. And because you go 2 hours back, you take the first 1 hour to just hang out and relax, take it easy. And in reality, if you just pushed yourself, you could have done both the class and studied.
Right, yeah.
But you just mentally psyched yourself out, and you can't be in the class and also just study really hard after. If you took account of yourself, like, did not going to the 1 hour class, or like, did you really benefit 1 hour, or did you benefit like 10 minutes? Like, in most cases, when you skip the class, you benefit for like 15 minutes. It's like, if you just worked a little bit hard, you could have done both. This is why I'm saying, like, you sometimes don't shortchange yourself. Like, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help, ask Him for more, and then just work hard. Especially when you're young and unmarried.
Yeah. As many of us here
Like, just push yourself. Just go, like, work harder. Be proud of what you are done. Like, don't live life such that one day you look back and you see what could have been.
Right. No, don't live in a life of regret.
That day comes to everyone.
So, Ustad, I was wondering, as you mentioned throughout the podcast, some items, the things that students can do, students can take. I was hoping you could provide 3 practical steps that students could take going forward. Right? From the end of this podcast, how is it that the student listening to this is going to go into the next week of their classes or in the next week of their life and so forth? How is time management going to happen?
I think the first thing, just be a little bit more serious about life. One of the advices I think about often, many years ago, it was more than a decade, sitting with one of my shuyukh, and he was just giving us a wa'ad, like a serious reminder once. It wasn't like planned, it just happened. When you're in a long-term class, it happens a lot because you disappoint the sheikh and the sheikh gets like, gives you like a wa'ad. That happens a lot. The sheikh was just telling us that nobody mediocre became a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it felt like a proverbial slap in the face. Because I had just sufficed with mediocrity in every moment up until then. Like, there's almost a facade in society that being mediocre, like just passing, not working too hard, that if you work too hard, you're almost like you're a bit of a loser. Like,
you're falling into the rat race, right?
Like, be a little bit more serious. Work a little bit harder. Like, don't fall into this facade. At the end of the day, it's all in your control. Like, you can do what like, there is no rat race. But you should be in control if you are racing. Otherwise, you're just a passive recipient of what happens to you. Right. You should work hard. Like, you should not imagine that you can be mediocre in all other aspects of life and then go into the ilm and you're going to be some amazing student. These habits carry over. The attitude carries over. This is like an entire paradigm issue. Just take things more seriously. So take all of your classes more seriously. Be more present. Like, just step by step, start taking things more seriously and you will see immense change. That's the first thing. The second thing would be just to find good company. As I often say now, people have potential, brilliant minds, everything is there, stable family, stable household, stable like country, stable university, right. Everything is there. What happens? They befriend losers, so they become
amongst the losers.
They're a loser.
They say, right? That you're the sum of the top 5 people that you spend time with.
Yeah. And so some people are sort of kind of losers. But they surround themselves with brilliant people. So what happens?
They rise to their level.
They also become brilliant.
It was similar to the thing we discussed before, right? You hang out with good company and you live up to what they're doing. You end up on their standard and then it becomes a normality for you.
Yeah. If your friend's greatest aspiration is hanging out till 3 a.m.
at Ridgeway,
it's not much. It's not going to get you very far in life.
Right.
By the way, some people never graduate beyond this idea of hanging out till 3 a.m. It's very sad to see like 35-year-olds doing the exact same thing they were doing
That we're doing at 20 years old, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you peaked.
You
You peaked really early, and that was it. Like it's sad. And one day they will have to face the truth that they are burying.
the regret ends up hitting them, as you said, 10
Yeah.
years later.
So surround yourself with good people. Like you don't want to be like those in your circles. You shouldn't be the one who is the utmost highest achiever. You want someone who is doing more than you, so you can always look at them, be like, I can still do more. Because if you're like the smartest guy in the room, what do you feel? You feel complacent.
Right.
And
Because
that may
you don't feel
happen.
like there's no motivation to do better. You're already at the
Yeah, you're
top.
not pushed. You think you're something.
Right. There's no fear of falling from the leaderboard per se.
Yeah.
Right?
If you put 5 fools in a room, the smartest guy in the room, like who
It's
cares?
never going to care. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not that big of a deal, but you think it's a big of a deal because you're the
Right.
smartest guy in the room. Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is,
yeah.
and sometimes you do. Sometimes like you might be around other people to bring them up at times,
Mhm.
but you should have people in your circles who are pulling you up, who
Right.
are expecting greater things from you.
And in reality, that ends up humbling us too, right? It
Yeah.
prevents the arrogance that can build up when you're, as you said, hanging around fools.
Yeah.
You might think you've been, you're the one who brought upon this to yourself the intelligence that you have, when in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided it. But as you mentioned in your stories, being with teachers, being with people
Yeah.
who are higher level than you, they humble you, right? They make they make you make you realize that what you've been doing with your life is insignificant or not
Yeah.
to the level that you could achieve. Ustad, just a final sort of question that I wanted to wrap up on right
But you
before.
didn't get my third advice.
You are correct. I have forgotten your third advice. I do apologize.
We can skip that if you'd like. The third advice was simply to find good teachers. I have had the blessing of having wonderful teachers. Every single time I came across a teacher, my entire life changed. Such that I know that it almost feels like I'm not me.
That you were before?
The person who I was
It's
not
not
headed
you.
in this direction. It was simply by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if He sent them to me. So if you find good teachers, your entire life will change.
So, Ustad, this teacher idea, let's just to just hop on it, is there's this sort of concept that people have that, oh, as you discussed, there obviously are shuyukh who are, of a sort of above your pay grade at the level that you are. But even on a lower sense, there's this sense that, oh, me going to talk to the khatib is like too much for me, right? Or so on and so forth. So is there perhaps an easy way, as you being a teacher, that you find students can, easily connect with you, or perhaps,
Leave me alone.
leave you alone? Or perhaps any other teacher in the community?
Like, you should find real teachers. I'm just some guy.
You're just
But if you find no one else, then I will always make time for you. But it's not always the case that a khatib is a,
scary sort of guy,
or even a teacher.
or even a teacher
The khatib is usually some guy,
who
right,
just
who recites kind of nice.
right.
It's like, mashallah, tabarakallah, he drops some verses here and there. And he sounds kind of cool. Make him the khatib. Right? So we're not talking about just some person who sounds like they have the ilm.
Right.
We're talking about someone upon whom the ilm permeates their very soul.
So Ustad, just this topic actually is pretty recent in the coming sort of decade, really. The sort of rise in self-help nature and this sort of drive to better yourself, productivity 100%, like the sort of marginal gains that you said, but obviously like to a sort of more extreme degree. And so the question that as we as Muslims like I think have is that Islam provides us all this avenue. We have such a rich history in all this sense. These sort of findings that the self-help sort of environment is coming about nowadays, is this something that we can find looking back in our history, the Sahaba, our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Is that something we already have access to and that we haven't been neglecting in a sense?
If you were to read these books, which I don't really recommend because not much to them, they effectively come down to the idea that you simply should just do things. This is what it comes down to. Now, there's systems by which you can be more consistent in doing things, but really what it comes down to is simply doing.
Right.
There is an interesting experiment where a professor, Google this, I guess.
Okay.
The professor, he had a class, photography class, and he had the students, half of them, they were assigned to submit a single picture in the entire semester for their final grade.
Right.
And the other half were told to submit as many pictures as possible.
For their maximum grade output.
And so those who were told to submit as many pictures as possible took way better pictures than those who submitted that one picture.
And why is that?
Because sometimes you have to do the work. It's not about trying to make things perfect. I'm not going to be in class unless I have my coffee and my chai and like my nice background blue light and green light and this vibe. Like, just show up and do the work. Just do things. أحب الأعمال إلى الله. The most beloved deeds to Allah, أدومها, are those which are consistent. وإن قل, even if they're a little bit. Like, because if you do a little, then at least some days you'll do a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, most of the days you do a little, but some days you'll just do a little more, and that's good. But what's the advantage of someone studying for 10 hours one day
and then
not doing anything?
Week, right?
And we all know that if you studied 1 hour each day, you would have been better off. We all know this, yet we're still going to.
This, right? Yeah. It comes back to that sort of procrastination factor and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So just to summarize, we discussed the 3 points that the students can take away. One of them was obviously finding good company.
Yeah.
Right? The people that you surround yourself with, the friends that you hang out with, connecting with your MSA, helping with them with their organization and stuff like this. Number two,
finding a teacher
is finding your teacher.
No, it's 3, but yeah.
Or yes, when the 2 of the 3 was finding a teacher. Right.
And finally, just excellence in life. Just working a little bit harder, taking things more seriously. Being a little bit more intentional in what you're doing, putting in some real effort, not taking things so lackadaisically, not being so passive about things. By the way, I'm not like crazy. Like, as I said, like, there's times to relax, as it were. There are times to like kick back, have a cup of coffee, have some sweets, hang out with the friends, as it were.
Yeah.
But like, everything within a balance, everything step by step.
This reminds me of Surah Fatiha and how it sort of mentions near the end of the straight path, and there's the discussion of what the Jews have done and what the Christians have done, right? And how Islam is always the middle ground. And I've always found it sort of beautiful that in reality, every Islamic aspect that the Prophet ﷺ implemented, it's always a balance, right? There's never overdoing it in, work or underdoing the work, or, in any other aspect of life. And I think in reality, one who is spiritually grounded ends up utilizing their time very effectively. And that time management is very managed, as they would say. I wanted to ask if you have any sort of last minute tips, recommendations for students or anything besides the 3 points that you mentioned previously on time management. Anything, any advice that you have or any tips from your own experience or anything like this?
If you take the ilm seriously, like, one thing is you attend a class like once a month. It's really fun and making all the jokes, and mashallah, you're laughing and you get the sweets and the halwa and everything after, and you have biryani and makhluba and everything, and it's like a whole vibe. It's like, this is the best class ever. All the ilmi classes will be like this. That's nice, but if you do a more serious thing, it is a little bit more work. It's not glorious, as it were, showing up to class every single day, day in, day out, day in, day out, for years on end. No one pats your back. No one says anything nice about you. It's just you and the texts, as it were, whatever you're studying. So if you do this a little bit more seriously, you have to remember that you owe your spouse time, and you owe your kids time, and you owe your parents service, and you have to earn halal income, and you have to serve the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to serve the people when the time is right, i.e., when your teacher tells you to.
Right.
But beyond that, hanging out with friends until late, watching this and watching that, and doing this and doing that, you have to realize you cannot do everything. So you have to be a little bit cognizant. You cannot harm family, i.e., because you owe them, like they have rights upon you. This is very important. You have to keep your spouse happy. This is very important. You have to like be good parents, good fathers and mothers to your children. You have to be good sons and daughters. Otherwise, are you really practicing the religion? How can you teach what you have not manifested in yourself? You have to be stable, i.e., in society, you are benefiting and you are benefited. Like you are functioning in society, but everything beyond this now, you have to consider. Like you don't owe your friends 40 hours a week.
Right.
You don't owe your hobbies 40 hours a week.
Everything from there is a decision on what you want in life and what
Yeah.
you want to see 10 years from now.
But what do people do? They see their friends, they do their hobbies, they do their ilm, sacrifice family. This is a mistake. This is a mistake. And what do they say? Fi sabilillah. This is a mistake. You cannot oppress your family. You cannot harm your parents. This is complete delusion.
So, Ustad, if we were supposed to have a sort of general ranking in
Mm.
terms of what the rights are of a general students of our age, what comes first, what comes second, where does it end off in sort of the, as we discussed, hanging out with friends?
Yeah, the huquq, as it were, are like a whole different podcast. But generally, like these things, sometimes I will find youngsters will talk about how their parents wanted them to do XYZ thing.
Right. Our parent, like possibly seeking out an engineering degree, becoming a doctor, all these things, right?
Yeah, so just something. And what do they end up doing? Or even something like perhaps a little more sensitive, like they're like, oh, we want to throw this big wedding party for you. And they're like, oh, mom, dad, it's off, too much money, this, that, and everything.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what do? They end up fighting and maligning and yelling and upsetting their parents. There is no ikhtilaf about the importance of honoring your parents, making sure that they feel loved and respected. No ikhtilaf. But you're fighting them on mukhtalafi issues, like issues that there are ikhtilaf in. This is delusion. This is foolishness. You've lost the plot. You lost sight of what is important.
Right.
It's like, what's important? It's very important. If I asked your parents right now, are you happy with this, with your son, with your daughter? And they have legitimate complaints about treatment, this is like blameworthy. Like you cannot imagine yourself to be religious if you are not fulfilling the rights of your parents, of your spouse, of your child. Same thing at work. Like if you're earning halal income, it has to be halal. That's a whole different topic, but you have to do that well. And finally, like the ilm, there's no easy path to ilm, but it is incomparable to anything else. There is no joy like the joy in ilm. Nothing compares.
There's nothing in this world.
Not even close.
Not even close.
But once again, like these things are important. The family, like your work as it were, because everyone has to earn halal. What's important? You can't just imagine like that is going to fall from the sky.
Right.
Because we live in a, like the world is through means. We are expected to seek the means. This is normal. You make the dua, you do the work, right? So family, work, spouse, children, and then service and ilm.
Right.
These things are important, and friends.
And friends.
And friends, like i.e., like with balance.
Not overbalancing and setting the prioritization to friends over the
Yeah.
other aforementioned. Just one final thing that you actually highlighted is the fact that, we sort of say the risk is falling from the sky, right? And it reminded me of the story with where the Sahaba, from what I recall, he had asked, if I have my camel, should I tie it? or do I leave it to Allah, right? Do I leave its safety to Allah? And the Prophet ﷺ, he stated that you leave your camel with Allah, as in like the safety of the camel, but you also do your efforts, your due diligence, and tie the camel in reality. So in the end, it's not just about, I'm going to make dua and all my exams are going to go easy.
Yeah.
It's about also putting in the efforts, putting in the time management sort of skills, as it will, putting in the sort of marginal gains over time, and then having that sincere
Yeah.
dua and belief that Allah will grant you success in the end.
This is the thing, right? You cannot condition tawakkul.
What do you mean exactly by this?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ Ya Rasulullah, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. That when you are resolved on an issue, then have reliance. When he is resolved on Badr, did he win? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? He won Badr. Uhud, was he resolved? Yes. Did he win? Sallallahu Initially, and then they lost. Do you think there was a lack of tawakkul, as it were?
No, of course.
You cannot condition tawakkul. Ya Allah, I rely on you. I made dua all night because I didn't study for this test. And I expected, I had tawakkul that you would grant me success.
Right.
But perhaps you failing the exam
Was better.
was what you needed. Like, you cannot condition the outcome. The tawakkul manifests regardless of this is tawakkul. You're gonna have tawakkul and condition it on like how you want it to be. It's not tawakkul anymore.
So
This is why you have to make a clear decision, doing like all the steps, as it were. And then once you have the decision, you move forward. I remember one time a youngster was asking me, I don't know whether I should marry this person or not. What's the right answer? And I said, the right answer is the one in which you are willing and are going to deal with the consequences. Because the outcome is about how you react to things. If things go well, alhamdulillah. If things don't go well, alhamdulillah, just deal with things properly. Things will be okay. Things will be okay. Because you cannot condition
right
outcomes.
Yeah. Of course. And of course, just to close off, we're gonna we ask Allah, to grant us good teachers, good mentors. We ask Allah, to aid us in sort of the time management and having that sort of miniature efforts that we put in throughout, rather than the sort of one day sort of hits that we usually end up taking. And we ask Allah, to put barakah in the efforts that we put in, and to help resolve the sort of issues that the ummah is facing through the efforts that we put in. Ustad, again, jazakallah khairan again for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everything you
Anytime.
provided.
Anything for you, man.
Is there any way that the students can come in contact with you, or as you mentioned, you were teaching at the Taqwa Academy, Mathaba, and Roots. Is there any way that students can connect with you, or directly, or through the organizations themselves?
Yeah, just reach out, email, text, call, WhatsApp. Don't call me, actually. Just like WhatsApp is good. Don't text me either, because I always lose all the texts.
Right.
But WhatsApp, like, I keep it unread and I organize it properly and everything. And reach out. But as I said, like, reach out to someone more significant, as it were. All my teachers are alive teaching. Reach out to them. But if you need something, just reach out. I don't have any like social media. But if you need me, I'll be there. Just reach out to like Rafil. Rafil will get you my contact.
Okay, inshallah. Then, if anyone wants to connect with Ustad Danyal,
Please don't.
has any questions regarding time management or anything else regarding what Ustad is currently teaching, please feel free to reach out to anyone in the MSA, and we'll get you connected, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for watching, and please stay tuned for our future episodes. Before you go, we want to take this short segment to once again thank our sponsor, the MSU, the McMaster Student Union, for all the help and support that they provide, being the government body over all clubs on campus. For all the events and all the activities that you see run by us are through the facilitation of the MSU and all the support that they provide. Once again, we would like to thank them for all the efforts and the time that they put in to help us do what we do. That's probably gonna be like
You keep interrupting me. Right?
Okay, hold on.
Say something.
एक second. No.
Can we have 3 points after 2 points? All right.
No.
All these things, like all these things happen.
Steph, with regards to the job when you quit, so I'm working right now, and also I know a lot of I'm an intern, right? And I know there's a lot of interns that I know do a lot of work on the weekend and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know they don't have that healthy work-life balance, right? They just work because it's for the sake of a return on, right? And with regards to like you mentioned, right? For you, when you know they were being unfair with regards to your job, you were able to quit, obviously, right? But was there a worry of what would be next for you? Because the job market is obviously tough.
Yeah, you have
what was
to
your
be
thought process?
realistic.
Yeah.
Like I also knew that I was at like what looks like a bougie company, right?
Yeah.
Like it looks nice. That's why I was there in the first place. It looks nice.
Yeah.
So I also had the realization that if I left here, it wouldn't be so hard for me to get a job in this niche field with Deloitte experience. I knew that. But when I was an intern, I worked my butt off. Like I remember I was they hired me for one team. I worked in like 7 different teams by the end of it. Like all the time, 7 different teams, interning in 7 different, like the storage team, the backup team, the Linux team, the database team. They hired me for infrastructure. I was at every single team. Just because of like, what you have to do is you have to find the decision maker and you have to make them like you. That's what you have to do. You have to find who has power to make decisions. Because what happens if your miskeen manager likes you and they can't hire you? What do they say? I really enjoyed working with you, have a good life. I don't have the funds to make the decision, right? But if you find like the manager's manager who makes that decision and you get them to notice you, like you work for them, you find out what they need and you can make their life better, even if like the other guy is working way harder than you, because that manager knows who you are, they like what you're doing, then they'll make things happen for you. So you have to make the people whose decision matter happy. Right? Like if like your coworker wants you to work 40 hours on the weekend, but no one's gonna see this, like you should be a little bit wise about life, alright? Like you should be a little bit practical about life, like have some healthy habits. Like the moment you start answering emails on the weekend and post like 6 p.m., 5 p.m., whatever, like you're entertaining like something else. So if you're gonna do that, make sure you do that with the right people only. Right? So you have to have some healthy boundaries. Like if it's like the important guy up on the top, messaging you like once a week, you reply obviously because this guy's important. You want to show him that you're like present. You want to, like there's no humility in the workplace. Like I'm just some miskeen bichara. Like, I don't know anything. Like the whole point is you have to sell yourself. Yeah. It's a whole different world. Like you have to. And it's hard, right? Like I hate interviews for this reason. It's really hard. You have to sell yourself. It's the game. It is what it is.
So how do you reconcile then wanting to be high achieving, like let's say like in the talib, like for like long term, right? You have like you might have like goals long term, but then you also want to be high achieving like your career, like
yeah. So like, I never did bad work. I did my work well, but I'm saying you can't make the work your life. Like whatever my manager told me to do, I always did it, even if it meant working till 12 a.m., which I did. Right? Because we had a good relationship. Like I knew that if she told me that today I'm working really hard, next week I'll take it easy on me. Like it was a good balance. I knew that if this week is crazy, next 3 weeks will be good. So there was like a good understanding, and I never shortchanged anyone. Right? If someone gives me work today, I still like do it properly. Like I still give it my all. It's the attitude, right? But I'm saying like if you're going to do that, you also have to do it with some level of understanding that it's not your entire life. The ulama do talk about though, first earning money, then doing ilm well. Because if you don't have any money, what are you gonna do? Like it's tough. Like you have to have some level of like some means of income. Once you have some stable income, then you can do the ilm properly. If you're always worried about what am I gonna eat, what am I gonna wear, how do I buy books, then it's gonna be tough forever. Right? Like there has to be time and place. Like the attitude like is like when you're in the dunya, when you are doing the work, it is as if no one else is ahead of you. But this is like an attitude thing. But at the same time, like just know that like companies don't really care about you as it were. Like, for the most part, you're just a number. Right? You just have to have a balance in everything.
So I'm gonna have to head out.
I want to leave too. Can I leave too?
If you want to.
Why are you so concerned about me eating?
Like it's been 9 hours.
been too long.
Who's counting?
Me.
You haven't had the burger yet?
No, it's been 12 hours. No, it's been 13.
Yeah.
Why do you like? But I know that if I don't eat, I'll function better. If I eat now, what's gonna happen? I wanna get tired.